My heart shattered when I discovered that the man I had married was a cheater. Jim and I had been together for 8 years before we finally tied the knot. We were the classic high school sweethearts who everyone thought had made it to the finish line. But our story didn't end with a happily ever after. One day, out of nowhere, I found out that Jim was cheating. The revelation came from one of his employees. My husband was a decent businessman in a small city, so for privacy, I've used fake names. I'm Riley, and you'll soon learn more about my husband Jim and my mother-in-law Tina. Jim's employee reached out to me with undeniable proof of his infidelity. I was in denial for a week, but the person who finally snapped me out of it was none other than Jim himself. He came home one evening and casually said, "I want a divorce. I'll be filing soon, but I've already made the decision. I thought you should know, I don't want to be with you anymore." What? Why, Jim? I don't understand. There has to be a reason for this. I just don't love you anymore, he replied coldly. So it was true. He was having an affair. Jim's face turned ghostly white when I confronted him. He clearly hadn't expected me to find out. I don't know if he thought he could simply walk away from our marriage with some flimsy excuse. But when I revealed that I knew about his affair, he looked both shocked and angry. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not in love with you anymore, so we're divorcing. We'll split amicably and keep what's ours." "You think I'll let you walk away without consequences?" I shot back. "I know about your affair, and I have enough proof. I don't care if you leave me for someone else. I've already wasted years on you and I'm not wasting any more. But I will go after your assets, as the prenup states." "Let's not make things difficult, Riley. We don't have to strictly follow the prenup. We can sort this out between ourselves." I knew why he was so against bringing up the affair. We had a prenup in place, at his insistence. He wanted to protect himself in case of a divorce and didn't want me to cheat and get away with it. I agreed because I had no intention of cheating, and the terms seemed fair. But now Jim found himself in a bind, as he was the one who had cheated, and he was desperate to marry his mistress, who, from what I'd seen, looked like a supermodel. Good for Jim, I guess. But the affair had stripped away any love I once had for him, leaving me with nothing but rage. Jim wanted to screw me over and take what was rightfully mine, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Let me be clear about one thing, Jim. I'm going to get what's rightfully mine. I know you don't want to talk about your affair because of the prenup, but unfortunately for you, I already have a mountain of evidence against you. Damn you, Riley, why can't you just leave me alone? Let's split amicably. You were the one who insisted on the prenup, Jim. You can't fault me for trying to uphold it. And why would I let go of the opportunity to take your money? Say what you will, but I will uphold the prenup and bring up your affair. This won't end well for you, Riley. Let me be clear about that. I'll find a way to make things even. I won't let you take my money." Jim's threat hung in the air long after he left the house. I broke down in tears once he was gone, presumably off to be with his mistress. I cried from a mix of anger and heartbreak. How had I chosen such a wrong man? I had wasted years of my life loving the wrong person, but I wasn't going to let him do whatever he wanted. I needed to take matters into my own hands. So I called Tina, my mother-in-law, one of the closest people in my life. Unlike the horror stories I'd heard from others about their mother-in-laws, Tina was a gem, a woman of morals, super wealthy like her son, but the exact opposite in character. She treated everyone with love and respect. Tina was confused about why we were divorcing, and I chose not to tell her everything at first, fearing she might side with Jim. I had some unresolved childhood trauma from being abandoned by my parents, and I was scared of losing Tina too. She did her best to convince us to reconcile, not knowing what had gone wrong. Eventually, I moved out of Jim's house and got my own apartment. Tina was saddened by the situation, but more angry at Jim because he had initiated the divorce. Jim probably thought that once he told his mom everything, she would side with him. He was her son, after all. To be honest, I was afraid of that too. I loved Tina and didn't want to lose her, but she did the exact opposite. One day, Tina called me in a panic and insisted on coming over. When she arrived, she looked distraught. "Riley, I need to talk to you in person. There's something I found out about Jim. I had to tell you." "Is this about Jim cheating on me, Tina?" "Wait, you already know about that?" I had no idea. It's been going on for over 6 months now, hasn't it? I got proof from one of his employees. They even sent me pictures. I found out more later, but it doesn't matter anymore. Oh God, Riley, I just found out yesterday. Jim came to me and confessed. I had no idea you two were getting a divorce. I'm so sorry, Riley. I failed to raise my son right. I feel awful. I'm a horrible mother. Tina started to cry, and my heart broke for her. None of this was her fault. She was a good mother and an amazing mother-in-law. Tina had become family to me, almost like a mother, and I started to cry with her, fearing I would lose her in the divorce as well. But what happened next dispelled my fears. Tina, please don't blame yourself. You've been nothing but kind to me. None of this is your fault. You are a good mother. No, you don't understand. There's more. I'm ashamed to even tell you about this. You'll definitely judge me and my family when I tell you. Tina, I don't think I will ever do that. Whatever Jim does is not on you. If there's anything more you want to share, you can tell me. Riley, my son has gone crazy. He's made a plan to trap you and get you arrested. What the hell? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jim was trying to get me arrested by setting me up. This was like something out of a horror movie. Had I failed to see the real Jim when I fell in love with him? Had I messed up that badly? Tina continued, Jim is planning to hide some of his cash in your new place and then call the cops on you. He says this way he can avoid losing his money and assets to you. Your prenup has a clause that states it's void if both parties are found to be at fault. That's why he's made this plan. He told you everything because he thought you wouldn't reveal his secret. I don't know how delusional he can be. Why in the world did he think I would support him? Riley, I'm on your side. What my son did, and is trying to do, is awful. I'm so ashamed. I'm so sorry. Tina, you don't have to be sorry. Thank you so much for coming to me and telling me everything despite him being your son. You truly are a good person. I don't want to lose you after the divorce. You're like a mother to me. There is no way you're getting rid of me, Tina replied firmly. I was like a daughter to Tina, and her words reassured me that I wasn't alone in this. Riley, your family to me too. Jim can go kick rocks for all I care. Please promise me you'll protect yourself from his schemes. Don't worry, Tina, I said, feeling a surge of determination. I'm not someone to be messed with. Now that I know what Jim's planning, I'll turn his own trap against him. When I shared my plan, Tina didn't object. Instead, she looked satisfied, even relieved. With her approval, I set everything in motion. First, I ordered some surveillance cameras online. My building already had CCTV coverage in the stairwell, so I just needed to secure my apartment. With the help of a friend, I discreetly installed the cameras in every room, making sure there wouldn't be any blind spots. Then, I waited. It wasn't long before Jim showed up, pretending to discuss the divorce. I could barely contain my laughter at how transparent his excuse was, but I played along, acting as if I believed him. While I pretended to be occupied in the kitchen, I watched him head towards my study, slipping something into my desk drawer. I smiled to myself, not confronting him. Let him think he was fooling me. In reality, my cameras caught everything just as I had planned. After a few minutes of half-hearted divorce talk, Jim bolted. Good riddance. His presence was insufferable. Once he was gone, I checked the camera footage. Sure enough, there it was. Jim had planted cash in my desk. I was livid, but also grateful for Tina's warning. Without her, I wouldn't have had any proof of my innocence. I saved the footage and prepared for the next phase of Jim's plan. The next day, as expected, the cops arrived at my door, with Jim in tow. I greeted them with a smile. Hello, officers. And Jim, this is a surprise. How can I help you today? Your husband here believes you've stolen $20,000 from him, one of the officers explained. He says the money went missing after you left his house last week. I kept my composure. I don't know what Jim is talking about, officer. I didn't take any money. I would never do something like that. The officers seemed cautious, wanting to hear both sides. Jim, however, was eager to push his narrative. She's lying, officer. She's always been a thief, even when we were married. That's one of the reasons I'm divorcing her. I looked at him, feigning shock. Jim, you know that's not true. Why are you lying? Don't play innocent, Riley. I know you took my money. It was in my secret drawer until last week, and no one else has been in my house. Well, ma'am, the officer turned to me. Do you know anything about where the money might be? Jim's confidence was evident. He truly believed I was about to be arrested. But I was ready. Officers, I can show you exactly where the money is and who put it there. I have solid proof. The officers seemed intrigued. Okay, ma'am, if you have proof, we'd like to see it. We don't want to make any false arrests. Jim, growing more desperate, interjected. She's lying, officers. She's just trying to wriggle out of this. Sir, we'll handle this. Ma'am, please show us the proof, the officer replied, clearly annoyed by Jim's persistence. I led them to my desk, where the cash was hidden. Jim's smirk was infuriating. He truly believed he had won. See, officers? She had my money all along. You need to arrest her. I stayed calm. Yes, the money is here, but I'm not the one who put it there. I must inform you that I have cameras throughout my apartment. I live alone, so there's no privacy issue. I can show you exactly who placed the money in my desk. Jim's face paled at the mention of cameras. Cameras? We don't need to see any footage. The money was found in your closet. That's enough proof. The officer cut him off. We'll decide what's enough proof, sir. Ma'am, if you have the footage, we'd like to see it. Of course, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm more than happy to show you what really happened. I played the footage, and Jim's panic was palpable. He realized he had been caught, but it was too late. The cameras had captured everything. After the cops reviewed the footage, one of them turned to Jim and said, All right, sir, we've seen the footage. It clearly shows you placing the money in her closet. It looks like you tried to set your wife up for theft. Jim's face went pale. What are you talking about, officers? There must be a mistake. I didn't do anything. She's the one who stole the money from me. One officer responded sternly, Sir, do you realize we can arrest you for making a false report? Your wife can also file a police report for harassment and defamation. Jim's confidence crumbled as fear replaced his smug expression. He started rambling, trying to explain away the footage, his hands shaking as he stumbled over his words. But the cops weren't buying it. After listening to Jim's excuses, the officer turned to me and asked, Ma'am, do you want to press charges against your husband? I could see the fear in Jim's eyes. He realized how badly he had messed up. Desperate, he turned to me, pleading, Riley, we don't have to do this. We can handle this between ourselves. There's no reason to get the cops involved. Why not, Jim? I replied calmly. You were the one who involved the cops in the first place, with no real reason. I have every right to get you arrested. You tried to destroy my reputation by framing me. Jim looked desperate. It was a dumb mistake, Riley. I swear, I didn't mean to get you in serious trouble. I just wanted to get even in the divorce, so you wouldn't keep the prenup. I stared at him, my voice cold. I know, Jim, I can't believe you would stoop so low. I hope your new girl is worth it, because, dear husband, you're getting arrested. Jim's face drained of color. He stammered. Turning to the officers, I said, Yes, I'd like to press charges against my husband. The officers nodded in approval, immediately handcuffing Jim. He began to cry, pleading for mercy. It was pathetic and disgusting, but any sympathy I might have had for him was long gone. His tears and apologies meant nothing to me now. The cops led him away, and I sighed with relief. After Jim was taken away, I called Tina and told her everything that happened. She wasn't surprised, but I felt I needed to warn her about the potential fallout. Tina, he'll get bail soon, and he might turn to you when he's out. There's a chance he'll suspect you had a hand in this. I'm prepared for that, she replied confidently. If he dares to come to my house, I'll tell him exactly what I think, and I'll let him know I was the one who informed you of his plan. Are you sure, Tina? Jim will be furious. He might cut you off completely. But for me, she said, without hesitation. I don't want any connection with him. I'm done with Jim. If he gets mad at me for doing the right thing, that's his problem. Besides, I'm rethinking a few things, like my will. What are you planning to do? I asked, concerned. I'm going to disinherit him, Tina declared. I don't want a homewrecker getting his hands on my money, and I can't forgive my son for trying to ruin your life. I'm done with him. I couldn't hold back the tears after hearing Tina's words. Knowing someone in this world was willing to stand up for me meant everything. Tina comforted me and even promised to take me on a trip once the divorce was finalized. As for Jim's arrest, not much came of it legally. I didn't sue him. Instead, I used the threat of charges to push the divorce through quickly. Because of his arrest and infidelity, The prenup was upheld, and I ended up with over 70% of our assets. Jim lost a significant amount of money and had to cover my legal fees as well. By the end of it, he was left traumatized by his own schemes. Jim's affair partner, the woman he thought loved him, left him after realizing he had lost money to me. Their relationship quickly soured, adding a bitter end to Jim's failed plans. Tina and Jim are no longer on speaking terms. At family events, they don't acknowledge each other. After news of the divorce, the affair, and his arrest spread, Jim lost the respect of many family members who found his behavior unforgivable. He's now estranged from several relatives. Tina and Jim had one final argument where she told him she was disowning him. Jim was devastated. He lost his mother, his wife, and his mistress in just a few months. Now he's all alone, trying to rebuild his savings and reputation. As for me, I'm in the best stage of my life. The divorce made me wealthier, and as promised, Tina and I took a trip to Hawaii. It was a wonderful time to bond and relax. It's been a year since the divorce, and we're planning another trip to Spain next month. I haven't started dating again, as I'm focusing on my mental health with the help of a therapist. Life is good, and I'm taking the time to heal, relax, and learn to be on my own again.